Green buildings come in many shapes and sizes. A contest in the nation's capital, a modular home, your child's English class, or even the arena where you watch sports with 18,000 of your closest friends. All may be greener than you think. We're here in Washington, D.C. at the Solar Decathlon. 20 teams from around the world are here competing to design, build, and operate the most energy-efficient solar-powered homes they can imagine.
In the decathlon, it gets its name from 10 contests. How do you give a broad overview of what makes a good house? Of course, you got to judge them for architecture, so we get a jury of professionals. Judge them for engineering excellence, so we get a jury of professionals. We also get some real estate agents and builders to go through and look at, in the real estate vernacular, curb appeal. Then we go through with a lighting jury, and then we judge them for communications. They've got to have web pages and give tours, then hot water, heating and cooling. We measure them for appliances. We also have home entertainment. And then lastly, net metering. What we've done is we've put a net meter on all these houses. They're bidirectional utility electric meters. And on those sunny days, when they have twice as much as they need, they're pushing the meter backwards and saying, hey, utility, will you hold this for us for a minute? It's like cell phone rollover minutes. They're building a credit up with the utility. So then on a cloudy day like today comes along, can we have some of those back from yesterday? And then we gave them up to 50 points bonus for the team that could sell the most surplus back to the utility. So they did everything in their house all week as efficiently as possible to have a little surplus. And that's actually where Germany aced. They got all of those 50 points.
The unique thing about our approach to sustainable design is that we try to integrate all the solar active elements into our overall architectural design. So the entire house is covered with photovoltaic modules or solar gatherers. We produce twice as much energy as we need to keep the house running. I think it's been raining for the past 5 days during the contest. And the good thing about our design was that the thin film modules we used on the exterior of our house, it is also capable of producing energy in such weather and diffuse lighting conditions. They were less efficient, but they still produced some energy. So after 5 days of rain, we still ended up with a surplus of energy. We do believe that houses like ours, maybe on a bit larger scale, will be accessible or on the markets very soon.
Illinois came in second because they also performed amazingly well. Very, very energy efficient house. So next to Germany, they were right up there, winning just, I think, a point less in the performance base.
We're from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, and we were fortunate enough to get second place for this competition. Our competitors, the Germans, had a system that they used that was twice the solar generating capacity than what we did. What allowed us to come in so close to their overall result was the fact that our house performed so well and so efficiently. We used the least amount of energy of any of the other schools for this entire contest, which gave us an overall net result which was very comparable to a system that had twice the capacity for generating energy.
Conservation was our #1 priority with this, and just how people can take these systems and really just make more environmentally conscious decisions. I think it's something that's very essential to both this competition and how Americans, in my personal opinion, should begin taking more into account in just their everyday lives.
And then California, which came in third, it's a beautiful, beautiful house.
Our house actually generates about 150% of its own electricity on good weather in California and also in Washington, D.C. It's just when the sun's shining.
What other features of this house are you most proud of?
I think the thing we're most proud of from the outright is just the shape of the house, because we broke out of the box and we're showing that a green home can be unique, a green home can be beautiful, and a green home can still perform. We use LED lights, which actually use 1/15 the power of an incandescent bulb, but also last 20 times longer. We're also proud of the controls integration we've done, that from a single interface, this house can control its heating, it can control the windows, it can control the entertainment, it can even control the lighting. You can control that from either your iPhone, the touchscreen in the home, or even a website.
So with this being your vision, what's sort of your dream for this?
Every house in America needs to be one of these. I mean, a solar electric house. We are producing no carbon here in this village while we're living here. Now there's embedded carbon in the houses and all of us to get here, but at least while you're living in a solar electric house, there's no carbon. And isn't that what we're all challenged for these days?
I just moved back from California, so I was kind of interested in what they're doing out there compared to like other places. I really liked the element that there was a pond and then you can use that pond water to water the plants. I thought that was a really kind of good way of using water, and it comes from the roof, the water, from what I understand, so that they're collecting the water.
I'm really excited about the fact that a lot of effort is being made into finding ways to live more environmentally friendly ways. So I think this is a great effort, especially by our own Department of Energy. Just reducing the size of everything and creative ways of using space is enough to significantly reduce your carbon footprint.
The folks at New World Home have 1 foot in tradition and 1 foot in the future. Their homes are green and modular, and to look at them, you wouldn't know it. Okay, is this really a modular home?
Can you believe that this home was built in a factory setting? It truly is a modular home. And in addition to that, it's built to the highest level of green certification standards. So it's a modular home, and it's also a green home.
So tell me why modular homes are better than your traditional built home.
Modular has some very unique advantages. One, you're not building in an outdoor environment, so you're building in a factory-controlled setting. That means straighter lines, tighter joints, precision cuts and quality measurements. It's actually shipped on a flatbed trailer to the job site and then put up within a 60 to 90 day time frame.
But this is so beautiful. What's the inspiration behind this?
The inspiration is we want traditional and historical architectural features with the standards that look towards the future with green. So really we want to create a look that fits into the environment, has a respect for the past with a vision towards the future.
The best way to understand that is to compare a traditional older home with a traditional newer home. Okay, this is a beautiful old home. What can we do to make it more efficient?
Well, Jenny, there are lots of opportunities in an old house like this for energy efficiency. These shingles up here are like solar absorbers. They just soak up heat from the sun all day long. So if we went with an Energy Star shingle, which is a lighter color, or a light colored metal roof, that would reflect all that solar heat right back into space. It would never heat up the attic.
This is a metal roof, and the roof has a high recycled content. It comes with a 50-year warranty. So when we look at products, we want to look at products that last a long time, and it actually can be recycled at the end of its useful life. The other thing about the roof is because of the surface color, it actually reflects the sunlight.
So what can we do to improve this door situation?
Well, the first thing I would do is install weather stripping and a threshold. See the stop mold right here? The simple way to upgrade an old door like this is weather stripping that screws onto the stop, and it has a rubber bulb that the door fits up against and closes nicely, and that'll stop all those drafts through it. And then I'd put a rubber sweep down at the bottom to stop the air from blowing under the door. And then lastly, see how the glass rattles? It'd be a simple matter to caulk that glass in and stop all those drafts through the front door.
Well, this door is a Energy Star rated door. An Energy Star is actually a program that's administered by the EPA and Department of Energy. You can get products rated. The door is rated by Energy Star. It has a low E window, and it's a double pane glass with argon gas in between the panes.
Why don't you tell me about the windows in this beautiful old home?
Well, they've already taken a big step and put storm windows on the outside here. So it stops the wind from blowing right up against the single pane windows and the windows that aren't sealed along the sashes. So the storm window is a big step, and that makes a big difference. If you don't have storm windows, if you would just install a full screen over the outside of the window, that screen itself will stop the wind from blowing right up against the glass, and it'll keep that air film along the glass stable, which actually contributes to the R value and will improve the insulating properties of the window.
What is R value?
R value is resistance to heat flow. So a high R value is a good thing to have in your house. A window like this has an R value of less than 1.
And what would your most efficient value be?
Around 11.
We live in a 200-year-old farmhouse, and we are going around with caulk to every window. The air, cold air is just coming through. I feel nothing here.
Well, first of all, the homes are built very tight. So there's not a lot of room or area for air to leak in or out of the home. So that's very important. Then in addition to that, these are double paned windows, and the window itself, the whole frame, is extremely tight. So what that'll do is it really reduces heat transfer or loss in and out of the windows. So whether it's in the winter where you want the heat in, or the summer where you want it cooler inside, these are really going to moderate the temperature in the house and help, again, save energy.
Attics are a huge problem for most older houses because it gets so hot in the summertime and because there's so many leaks between the house and the attic space through the ceiling. In this particular house, you can see this chase that leads down to a closet. It's open from the attic all the way down into the house, and there's no insulation in the walls between the attic and the inside of the house. So ideally, every hole, every penetration in the ceiling would be perfectly sealed and airtight. One of the easiest and best ways to solve this problem of air sealing and insulation in attics is to just seal and insulate the roof line, and that brings the attic space into the conditioned area of the house, and then the temperatures will never get to the 130 or 135 degrees like they would in an ordinary vented attic.
This is an open cell foam sprayed insulation. It's a soy based. And the nice thing here is that you can spray the foam in so that it really encases the area that you're trying to insulate. And that'll keep the house tighter and keep from having temperature variances.
How much efficiency can you really gain when your design is traditional and your construction is cutting edge?
This home with the green systems and features would run about 5 to 10% more than a traditionally built home. But the key factor is the life cycle savings. For instance, this home will you'll use 50% less energy over the life of the home versus a traditional home. In the not too distant future, there's not going to be a non-green home and a green home, but green practices and systems will be built into the entire built environment and building stock. So as consumers become more educated and demand more, that's going to really drive the number of green certified homes that we see in the marketplace.
Arabia Mountain High School is the first LEED certified high school in Georgia. But not only is it an example of green building, it's an example of green learning that just might change the world.
All of our classrooms have lots of windows, and that allows us to have natural lighting and the ability to teach without turning on our overhead lights. And that's, of course, energy saving. Also, it sort of lifts the spirits of the kids.
When I came to this school, and I saw the difference in the children with fresh air, sunlight. The sunlight makes a huge difference. You could watch the difference in these kids when we open the blinds and close them. Sunlight's hugely important. Everybody knows how good you feel when you walk outside after you've been stuck indoors all day. We get that level of enthusiasm and engagement from the kids all the time just because of the light.
In all of our classrooms, you will see Promethean boards. We do not use whiteboards. A Promethean board is an interactive technology whiteboard.
It allows me to write on the active board without actually being in front of it and interact with these students while I'm teaching. The students can actually come up to the board. I can have little video clips going, anything that we need to do right there on the active board.
Also, assessments, testing. Teachers are able to test the students using the interactive board without using paper.
I can use lab notebooks instead of handing out worksheets. I can have things going. I don't have to have transparencies or extra copies or anything like that. I can do everything on the active board.
Students still use their notebooks, but a lot of notes are sent to students via email. All students have school email accounts. Drop boxes, papers are submitted to teachers using the secure drop box. Students will go home and read a lot of things online that have been posted by the teachers.
The coolest thing about my school are the restrooms where in the stalls you can flush up for liquid waste and down for solid waste.
The famous Arabia Mountain restrooms. Come on in. All right. The thing we rave about, one, is of course our waterless urinals, and that again is what students are looking at, conservation, saving our water. And then of course we have our pull up and push down. You pull up for the liquid waste and then you push down for the solid waste. And so that just really intrigues everybody. So we pull up and push down. And so that again is saving water because it's a low flow and the students think it's just awesome, and I do too. One of the unique aspects of our school is that students all participate in what we call our EIC project. The EIC project stands for Environment in an Integrating Context, meaning that every student studies the environment, some aspect of the environment. Yes, students here take the biology classes, the chemistry, the physics classes. The only difference is our students take that learning and support and use that information to support their environmental investigation. So the English teacher is reading a novel, but the novel is Hot, Flat, and Crowded, Friedman's Hot, Flat, and Crowded, which forces us to look at energy sources and how we use our energy resources internationally across, the globe.
The environmentally integrated curriculum is a really good fit for 11th grade for a couple of reasons. We talk a lot about the American spirit and culture and change. So we are a school that's on the cutting edge of change right now, and we're looking for the kids to believe that they can make an individual difference and start a revolution. Thoreau, and that is a good fit because he really wanted to get back to the land, find out what his spiritual, unique, individual connection to nature was, and that's sort of what we're trying to do. We even recently had a unit on propaganda and how people are influenced by commercials, and we studied political speeches, and it was very interesting for them to look at the science and then see how the science is spun in the popular media. We looked at what the consensus on global warming was in the scientific community with peer-reviewed articles in professional journals and compared that to what the consensus was in the popular media, and it's quite a different number. There were out of, I think, 1,000 peer-reviewed journals on global warming, there was not a single dissenting opinion that believed that it was not caused by human activity. Of the popular media, I think it was 45% that agreed, and the rest said it was unclear whether it was caused by human activity. So it's important for the kids to make that distinction.
Well, I'm Dave Butler. I'm with the DeKalb County Green Space Office, and welcome to our Evans Mill riparian site. There's nothing here that's going to bother you. Most of the things out here, including the snakes, are all keeping warm under the rocks or somewhere, so you don't have to worry about anything coming after you.
Fire ants?
Except for fire ants, that's true.
This is our wonderful outdoor classroom. Teachers spend lots of time out here with students, and not necessarily with the environmental education program, but just getting kids outside. Kids spend too much time inside. It's very important to have students outside, and just for healthy reasons. They need to understand exercise. They need to be outside and not be afraid of being outside. I like what I heard one of the teachers say earlier, let's not be afraid to get dirty.
I love the green curriculum. It is, it's such a great focus for the students. I teach advanced placement environmental science to 11th graders. Not only are they focusing on things like recycling and changing light bulbs, they're looking at how an ecosystem develops so they can have an understanding of sustainability. This is a very unique atmosphere. I've never had the opportunity to teach in this type of school. It is the only school of its kind in Georgia, so I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to teach here. We are coming out here and we're seeing how soil is formed. We're seeing fungi breaking down different logs and sticks and leaves, and the students are very unfamiliar with those processes, so that hands-on opportunity is invaluable for this type of education.
Anybody know what the 3 major minerals are in this kind of rock? Quartz. That's a big one, right? That's the main one.
I feel like we're broadening their horizons and letting them go out into the community and see what's available.
Sakina, I would have never imagined you holding a worm.
I think it's really fun and we learn a whole lot, even though it's like you get down and dirty, but it's still really fun, and I really like going to these different kinds of field trips.
I think it's amazing. I mean, like, I came to Arabia just thinking, yeah, it's a good school, but I'm really learning a lot about nature. I just learned how to identify poison ivy. It's really changed my view about the environment. Like, I recycle more.
Before I didn't recycle or anything, but now I can lunch, we recycle, and in the classrooms we recycle. And so it's really helped me a lot and to help me know that the environment is really important.
We're changing attitudes about our environment. And we must be visionary, we must be futuristic, and we must think about the next generation in more than just dollars and cents.
If we don't do something now, it's going to be too late to do it. And this is the generation that has to do it. They have to come up with these ideas that are going to bridge us from the old ideas to the new ideas. And I reiterate to them that it's their responsibility now. We made the mess, now they have to help us clean it up. And they're so ready for it, they're so smart, and having this type of background it's going to benefit all of us in this city, in this state, in our country.
At Phillips Arena, they now use 21% less electricity than other similar arenas, and they took these steps after the arena was built.
We are very excited when we bought the building to have two professional teams, the Atlanta Hawks and the Atlanta Thrashers hockey team, NHL, to play in this building. And we started looking at the building and the upgrades that we need to make, and we said, why don't we take the U.S. Green Builds program for LEEDs and do it for an existing building? It would be the first arena in the world to do that. We were rated as the third busiest arena in the world last year with concerts and different things that we have here. And we said, this would be a really good showpiece for our city and for the nation, and we could lead by example.
We forget that buildings are the biggest contributor to greenhouse gases in the world, and so they were very committed to reducing energy, but also to saving water, and most importantly, I think, to creating a healthy venue for the people who come and enjoy activities here.
So how did you feel when they said they wanted to make this a LEED certified building?
I'll be honest, we took a big gulp and said, that is a large, complex building. We were not aware of anyone else who had done a building of that scope anywhere in the country, really anywhere in the world. And we were right. It is a first. And so, but what was so wonderful is that even though it's a complex, big building, we broke it down into bite-sized pieces. And so very practical measures that can be done to lessen the energy and water waste in the building, to look at using materials wisely, most importantly to enhance the air quality in the space. And all these are put together in a package that really means a high-performance green building that also saves money. There is no free lunch. I mean, there is an extra first cost on most green buildings. And so we have to really change our approach to how we design and construct and maintain buildings. I'd rather pay a little bit more for a green building because I know that I'm going to save so much money over the life of that building on reduced energy and water and operating costs.
Everything we did has a payback period, and most of the things we did in this building are going to be an upgrade potentially, but things that we needed to do anyways, or we expedited or changing things out that we may have done in years to come. But the payback for most of it was under 2 years. Bottom line, we spend less money operating this building.
I have 3 900-ton chillers in this plant. This chiller is retrofitted with a variable frequency drive, which means that the energy needed to start this unit is 1/3 of the other two. The demand to cool this building is great, especially through the summer months. But additionally, we have to run cooling in the wintertime. It's a constant battle to keep a temperature in the bowl that is a good environment for an ice surface. Having a variable frequency drive throttle up and down to meet the demand and also to drop out when we don't have that demand is a huge, huge energy savings. This machine probably saves us about $80,000 to $90,000 a year.
Unfortunately, we don't put a priority on maintaining healthy buildings. In fact, the Environmental Protection Agency, they say that the quality of air inside our buildings is actually much worse than the quality of the air outside of our buildings. That doesn't have to be the case. We can have healthy indoor air quality by just doing practical, simple things.
What we have here is the unit that feeds air to the seating bowl. There are 4 of these units in the building. The filtration that you're looking at is a HEPA filter. The HEPA is the highest filtration available for this unit. We have our air tested biannually by an outside source. He has determined that the air that we introduce to our building is cleaner than 90% of the hospitals in the Atlanta area.
And our customers, our partners, our athletes the performers. We owe them the best air possible that we can get in the indoor environment, and we give that to them.
What mechanisms are you using to save water in this building?
Simple things like on the faucets, they have automatic controls so that when people put their hands underneath, they get the water, but then when they walk away from the faucet, it turns off automatically.
We reduced year to year from May 2008 to May 2009, 2 million gallons. We were able to accomplish that by changing out very simple changes from our sink fixtures, going to a filtration system or an aerator in the sink. And so we're able to reduce the water coming out of the sinks. We've got a number of areas that we've begun to go to a much lower flow fixture on the urinals, much lower flow fixture on the toilets. All that stuff begins to add up.
One thing that I think is really neat is that we are going to take the condensation from our air cooling facility, and we're going to use that for the ice that the NHL players play on. And I think that is probably a first.
Here at Phillips Arena, with just the simple measures that they've taken thus far, they're saving enough energy in a year to power about 111 homes.
So we're hoping that for our planet, for our little spaceship that we live on, this will be an example for commercial buildings and what can happen if we all change the buildings that we work in or we live in. This planet would be a much cooler, a much better place to live, and we can do it, even with 6.5 billion people out there. This is the one way that we can all live more sustainably and try to live off less resources.